Hey everyone, it's Hexagon. This is a commentary video I wanted to make over my recent speedrun of the iOS edition of Riven, mainly to highlight the huge differences between iOS and PC. This video doesn't assume Riven speedrunning knowledge, but it does assume you've beaten the game before, so if you haven't, be sure to do that. It's probably the greatest game of all time and I know you'll enjoy it. Or, if you want me to do a Let's Play of this game, leave a comment and I'd be happy to do that. With that said, let's start. First off, when we rotate this room to activate the steam power and gates, we want to do it all from this spot, because the cutscene can only be skipped from here. In general, iOS Riven has three types of cutscenes. There are skippable cutscenes, where the green icon appears in the top right, which mainly feature a video. There are also unskippable ones, which are mainly audio only, like this gate here. More on the third kind later. Going under this door both ways is annoying with the hotspot and loading times and all, and if you mess it up, you have to skip a cutscene and try again. Not this time, though. You can tell how we're rotating the room very differently than the average player, just so we can do it all from here, but it ends up working out pretty efficiently anyway. Now we do the Walkway Steam. I messed up a bit, but that's okay. This run isn't super optimized and I hope to improve it a lot soon. I do get to approach max speed on some of these straightaways though. I'll talk about loading times and walking speed later on, specifically for iOS. It can be kinda weird sometimes and really inconsistent, and this last section shows that pretty well. I'm leaving the room like that for later. I just zoomed in on that door while I was waiting for the unskippable cutscene to end, and that might seem a bit strange. It was an accident though, and it's because iOS Riven actually zooms you in when you double tap in any location. This is super annoying behavior, and it means you have to be really careful not to tap any part of the screen too fast, like I apparently did just there. Luckily it didn't waste much time. I'll talk more about this later. I'm actually going to pause here and talk a little bit. There's two paths you can take here on the jungle loop, one through the right gate and one through the left one. Riven speedrunners and observant players might know there's an unskippable cutscene of a beetle to the right, so everyone goes left to get to the work statue fastest. However, this is where we introduce the third type of cutscene. Some cutscenes are skippable on PC, but not skippable on iPhone. I've heard iPads can skip them, and if that's true, the leaderboard might should be split, but I don't actually know that. Anyway, if you go left, you run into the guard tower, which triggers an iPhone unskippable cutscene. Luckily, I discovered a trick to skip this type. You simply pull up the journal and put it away again quickly to skip the cutscene, though the sound keeps playing. It's actually really janky, though this run doesn't show up much, and the time it takes varies a lot. I'm not sure why. In any case, that's what's going on here. The button to open the statue here is actually off-screen on some iPhones while it's visible on PC. While I was playing through the game for the first time on a much older phone, I ended up having to look up the solution to this problem, and it really annoyed me that it was right there and everyone else could see it. Still a bit of a dumb puzzle, but worse if you can't see the button you need. And yes, I thought I had too much honor to use hotspot hints. This elevator here is kind of strange on iOS. You can just drag the handle up or down, but I hadn't known this until recently, because you can also click the handle, and it alternates between taking you up and down, starting with down. I thought that what I just did there was necessary on iOS, but after playing this game for years I've just learned it's not. What do you know? In case you're wondering, you have to deal with this guard tower anyway if you check the gate on the right into the jungle, meaning the left path is always faster no matter how slow you pull off the book trick, or if you don't at all. Here we use the book trick a few more times to skip iPhone unskippable cutscenes. Remembering which cutscenes are which can be annoying though, and the book trick loses time on regular unskippable cutscenes. Now we go drop the sub, and then get in it by walking all the way around the island, so I'll take this time to explain how movement works. In this game you can't just simply tap the screen to move, that'd be too easy. Remember how double tapping causes the screen to zoom in, which outside of a cutscene is a big time loss and annoying to get out of? This means you can't tap too quickly in the same place. So you have to alternate with two fingers and two valid click spots on the screen far enough apart from each other not to trigger the zoom. As I play, I have my left index finger over the skip button and my right index and middle fingers doing the movement. This isn't perfect, but it's not too bad and it's pretty comfortable. Also, loading times in iOS Riven are pretty slow, and if you tap to move before the screen loads, it'll eat your input. You have to guess as best you can from experience how long it will take to load a screen, and tap right then. There are some pretty big variations in loading times. It seems like when you walk into an area, like the power dome, it'll take longer to load, but I have no idea. It also really seems like loading times are based on the power of your device. And if that's true, it won't take long for an epic gamer with an iPhone 14 Pro Max Red Plus to completely destroy me at this game, but again, I don't know. In the sub, I'd forgotten the fastest route, which is flip, forward, forward, and I went all the way around the lake instead, which isn't great. I grinded this game a couple years ago, but I couldn't spin a run then because the leaderboards weren't split, and I've forgotten a lot of things since. I'm surprised by how much I remember though, and I'm really happy to be back. I'll definitely work on this game a lot more soon. Again, it's the greatest game of all time. We used the book trick twice in a row up here to open the cell, but we can't use it on this iPhone unskippable cutscene of the hook rising. If you try, when you take out the journal, the wall opening cutscene will start immediately, and when it finishes, whether you skip it or not, you'll be looking at the journal again as if you'd never even opened the grate. It's pretty weird, but maybe it has to do with the iPhone skippable cutscene right before a skippable one, which we'll see a few times. The wall closing here is definitely an iPhone unskippable cutscene, but the book trick is just slow for some reason. I don't know why. I mess up the book trick on the second stone, and I can't use it on the fifth because of that strange problem with the trick before a skippable cutscene. Now we go to the Rebel Age, and though going over to that book and linking looked really slow just there, I swear I was two-finger tapping faster than that. The gamer's playing lag, everyone knows that. So here we go to the door, and then the window. That triggers these interactions, and we're back. I mess up and use the book trick on an unskippable cutscene. It's not that bad, you just lose a bit of time, but a session avoidable mistake. Oh well. The click spots here are really annoying, and I didn't do too bad all things considered. This is a mistake I always seem to make, but I just need to get good, it's not that hard. Here we just hit every switch once, with the valve on the left being the last. This is way faster with the book trick. Turning left without hitting the wheel is harder than it looks, but again, this run needs some serious polish. This is a prime example of what happens if you try to skip a cutscene before you started it. Usually you turn right, which is annoying. I think that time it happened because I tried the door before the screen loaded, but I don't remember. In Gen's journal, we turn 13 pages and write down the code as fast as possible. PC World Record does this in less than 2 seconds, and I have no idea how. I can't even read 5 normal numbers that fast. My guess is the run uses RNG manipulation or frame rules or something to achieve this level of gaming, but I'd have to ask. Here, my footage capture setup just stops working for a few seconds, and I'm not sure why. I'm using an unmodified version of Riven I downloaded a couple days before the run, as well as the basic iPhone Control Center screen recording tool. I didn't actually notice this before I submitted the run, but I'm glad it was verified. I accidentally closed that gate and have to go back to open it. Whoops. Though they look cooler, these marbles are way more annoying on iOS than PC. The spots to drop them are slightly off from where they are visually, but the elephant in the room is that whenever you pick up and hold a marble, it stays a good bit left of your finger. You can actually see this in the video when all the marbles jump to the left. I have no idea why the game works this way, but it's probably intentional. Maybe so you could see the marbles' positions better, but it's so counterintuitive it looks like a glitch at first sight. In real life, when someone does this, they look like a crazy person, but in iOS Riven it's pretty standard. The click spot for this button is pretty bad, and it's compounded by the double tap zoom rule. Luckily this part goes okay, but the combination entry is also annoying. It automatically zooms you in so you can see better, but it also weirdly distorts the black bars. This is why I've always found it easier to count backward than eyeball the numbers, which is really not how it should be. And we're off to age 233, where we once again have a case of the iPhone unskippable cutscene before a skippable one, but oddly with different side effects when you try to use the book trick. This game kinda feels held together with duct tape. Which brings me to the point of all of this. The iOS edition of Riven, though it might be a bit cheaper than PC, is not a great port. The controls are a bit strange, there are plenty of glitches, and it feels really slow to speedrun. Those are actually not the main issues I have with it. I first played Myst on the original CD-ROM using Classic Environment macOS 9. It felt great, but the graphics were dithered 256 colors, many angles you could look around were missing, and animation was sparse, because to make it fit on one CD-ROM the developers had to do some cutting. I still appreciated the beauty of the game. I felt like Riven should have been that way too, but way better, because most of the issues were gone. However, I couldn't get a 5 CD-ROM box set, so I had to get the iPhone version of the game. On a small screen, the images, sounds, and animations don't feel quite as immersive, and in fact many of them are cut or shortened. In many cases this is okay, you get the feeling Cyan was trying to cut content as much as possible in a Myst-style way, but sometimes it interferes with gameplay. For instance, the map island projection machine rotation animation was missing, and it really confused me playing this game for the first time. Furthermore, the dome locations are harder to see on the small screen, especially without the option to rotate the projection. So, I had to resort to looking up the answers, and when I first watched a PC play through this game, I had the feeling that I totally could have done it if I'd been on PC, which really isn't a good feeling. Anyways, my rant is done. Let's get back to the speedrun at hand. We turn on the boiler, open the cage, and go get the combination to Catherine's journal, which, fun fact, is only generated as you capture again to prevent brute forcing it. The little combination device is also a bit slower on iOS than PC, but I guess I'm okay with it. This dome opening here has 2 skippable cutscenes in a row for some reason, and they start the same way. Now this combination entry is a bit weird on iOS and PC differently, and the reason I have to try again is because my input is eaten. I have to go a bit slower than I'd like. We've freed Catherine and captured Gen, so now all we need to do is signal Atris using the telescope. Let's go do that. Here, the mandatory zoom and the double tap zoom hit me twice in a row, which is super annoying, though I probably could have recovered from the second time. You can see how it happened because I have 3 ones in a row and it didn't go slow enough for them. But, we finally get the telescope open and end our journey. I accidentally skipped the last cutscene during the run, but I'll play it here just because. So, this is where our paths must part for now, but hopefully we meet again soon. You know where to find me. Thanks for watching!
There isn't much time. Where's Catherine? Where's the book?
Atris!
I don't...
The villagers are safely in the Rebel Age. I thank you.
As do I. You've accomplished more than I could have hoped for. You've given me back my life. The path home is now clear for all of us. This is where our paths must part. Perhaps we'll meet again someday. You know where to find me. Goodbye, my friend. Now I understand. Endings and beginnings are within the fissure, that riven cleft of stars that acts as both a wall and a bridge. And though I am unable to understand how, the very flow of stars that brought my mist book into worthy hands, I am sure served as a safe passage home for my friend. The age of Riven is closed forever, but the people of Riven are free. And now I am at rest, understanding that in books and ages and life, the ending can never truly be written.